Hello, people of YouTube. My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's Guitars, and thank you for watching. Now, if you've been paying attention to the news a little bit, you might have seen Jimi Hendrix's estate listed in there, and you're probably wondering what is going on with that. So the title of this article that I'm going to be reading off of is called Jimi Hendrix's Estate Preemptively Sues the Estate of Noel, Redding, and Mitchell. Now, I don't know who all of those people are, so I'm going to be blatant about that. I believe one of them is his drummer. A lot of these people at this point in time are deceased. The main argument behind this is because of digital downloads, things like Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, things that didn't really exist or, were even a thought of anybody in the 70s. Not really that many people, I think, would be imagining the technology we have these days in 1970, when Jimi Hendrix actually died. You're going to see me looking down a lot in this video because I'm going to be using the article, as basically a go-to point. So let's just kind of get into the article here. The Hendrix estate and Sony Music revealed a letter in December that claimed the Redding and Mitchell estates were owed royalties for roughly 3 billion streams. That is a lot of streams. People love Jimi Hendrix, let me tell you. And I'm assuming that, equates to millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars with all of that streaming. So Jimi Hendrix's estate, Experienced Hendrix LLC, has been preemptively sued by the estates of Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, bassist and drummer of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Okay, there you go. Respectively, countering any future lawsuits in which the later estates may attempt to claim historical royalties. The lawsuit follows a letter received in December by Sony Music, through which the Experienced Musics is distributed from British attorney Lawrence Bracem, which claimed the label owed the Redding and Mitchell estates performance royalties for around 3 billion streams of the band's material. While Bracem did not include an actual figure for the amount to be compensated, he noted that the number for such streaming figures and sales is estimated to be in the millions of pounds. Okay, so they're basing this off of the British pound. So if you're from England, you understand that. I don't. I'm in America. We have dollars. I don't know fully the exchange rate, but regardless, large amounts of money being left on the table here. So he also threatened ignoring this letter may lead to clients to commerce proceedings against you and may increase your liability for costs. In response, Dorothy Weber, the lawyer acting on behalf of the Experience of Jimi Hendrix and Sony, filed a preemptive lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York on the 18th of January this month. Threats of suits have created real and reasonable apprehensions of liabilities of the parts of the plaintiffs. So basically, this just means that they are aware of it, they are concerned with it, and they are trying to work it out. Weber's suit also claims that Mitchell and Redding both signed documents in 1973 and 1974, respectively, in which they released the Hendrix estate from legal claims and agreed not to sue the estate in the future. Both musicians were reportedly compensated for these signings. However, both Redding and Mitchell estates claim these documents are no longer binding. So what this basically means is back in the 70s, mid-70s, they signed a legal document saying they cannot sue them. However, I think under these particular circumstances, with all of the digital downloads, the digital streaming, Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, whatever else, Amazon Music, to name a few, that it may, be in their favor. Well, yes, they signed a contract, basically assuming that they would be getting money from both, physical record sales, possibly tape recording. I don't know when the cassette tape came out. I think it was around in the 70s. But, physical media, you can hold it in your hand like this guitar pick. Things along those lines. So Weber added the threat of such suit by the defendant sufficiently immediate and the real date of his filings to warrant the nuisance of a declaration judgment of ownership and non-infringement. So basically that just means they're not, they have a reason to do this. Essentially, the Hendrix estate and Sony Music are seeking a judge to rule that no money is owed, and the two parties are not are not in any violation of any prior legal agreement or contract. The documents signed by Redding and Mitchell in 1973 and 74 are still valid. So Sony is saying that, hey, you signed this contract back in the 70s, you were given money, you have no claim to this. So that's where they're coming from. But at the same time, this is the actual bassist and the actual drummer from the band. So you would think they have some claim to it. At least that's my particular feelings. Formed in 1966, the Jimi Hendrix Experience performed together until Redding's departure in 1969. Hendrix and Mitchell continued to work together until the Experience reunited in 1970 with Bill Cox on bass. The reunion was short-lived, however, due to the death of Hendrix in September of 1970. Upon his death, Hendrix's estate was inherited by his father, James Allen Hendrix, who created Experience Hendrix LLC with his daughter, Janie, if I'm saying that correctly. She has run the estate since James' death in 2002. So Jimi Hendrix's sister has been running it since 2002. When Redding died in 2003, he left his estate to his partner, Deborah McNaughton, who passed it to his sisters when she died upon his death in 2008. Mitchell left his estate to his daughters, Asha. Now, see, this makes it more interesting because they're saying that they are owed money, but in this particular case, Redding is not alive anymore. So it is his next of kin trying to get this money. So that may also kind of go towards Sony's favor in this particular case. It is claimed by the lawyer representing Redding and Mitchell's estate that both musicians died in relative poverty, having never received the true entitlement from their works, performances, and founding memberships of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. So both of these people are currently deceased. So that is definitely going to be a factor in this. In Webster's lawsuit, she counters neither Redding or Mitchell ever asserted an ownership, interest, or any other performing rights in the recording. So this is kind of one of those situations where the musicians that were part of it definitely owe what they were due. However, back in the 70s, they signed a contract basically giving up that right because they were then, at that point in time, given some sort of sum of money. We don't have the exact figure here in this article. I'm getting it off of Guitar World if you're wondering where I'm reading all of this from. So the issue is neither one of these people are alive. When they were alive, digital music was becoming more of a thing. You know, you had CDs. If cassette tapes weren't a thing, they came about. You had iPods. You know, you were starting to get cell phones that were capable of having music on them right around the time of their deaths. Until 2008, just for reference. So the one passed away. Redding's died in 2003. Mitchell died in 2008. So by 2008, phones had MP3 capabilities. You know, there wasn't really a Pandora or a Spotify yet at that point in time. iTunes was a thing, and digital music was a thing at that point in time. And neither one of the musicians during their lifetime, you know, cared to bother fighting this. You know, they weren't trying to do this. And now, you know, many years later, after the fact, you know, we're over 10 years after the fact of both of these past members of the Jimi Hendrix Experience being deceased, their next of kin is trying to say, hey, you know, they weren't aware that there was going to be a bunch of crazy digital sales and a bunch of people were still going to think, you know, and believe that Jimi Hendrix was relevant in modern day times, which of course he is. Of course he is. Very influential, especially if you're a guitarist. And they think that they are owed some of that money because these two past members of the band didn't get any of it. So it's definitely a very interesting situation. Now, I would say if these two musicians were still alive and they were fighting for it themselves, yes, by all means, you know, throw them a bone, give them some of that money. Now, but because this is the estate of these people and this is family members, it can also kind of be seen as greedy and selfish that they're just trying to make a buck off of their relatives, you know, that are currently deceased, have no say in the matter anymore at this point in time. And there's really nothing that, you know, they could do to say either way. You know, it sounds like they're just trying to catch a quick buck in the process. But at the same time, I can understand where they're coming from. You know, I mean, digital media has definitely gotten a lot more, potent from 2008 to 2022. You know, as I said, back in 2008, you're looking at iPods, you're looking at phones. I think an LG Chocolate, if I remember correctly, was a popular phone that everybody was downloading MP3s on. There wasn't really digital streaming yet. Smartphones weren't really huge. Not a lot of people had them at that point in time. They were still pretty expensive. So it is a gap, but, I understand where both parties are coming from. Because one side, you think they're owed the money, but at the same time, they're dead. And now it just seems like the people that run their estate are trying to catch a quick buck on the back end. So that's kind of my opinion about this whole thing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. While you're down there, hit subscribe, turn on that notification bell, leave a like. Let me know what you want to see for future guitar and music related videos. My name is Steve Gray. This is Gray's Guitars. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good one.